Hey everybody, great to be learning with you today as we continue our studies of Sefer Yehoshua and begin to explore the 11th and 12th chapters, in which we'll focus on the conquest of the northern kingdom. Last we studied, the Jewish people led by Yehoshua had waged a battle on behalf of the Givonim after 5 kings attacked them for signing a peace treaty with the Jewish people. Remember that Givon, which was part of the Chivi region, really should have been conquered by the Jewish people, and yet the Givonim pretended to be people they were not in order to secure their safety. And so they tricked Yehoshua into believing they were actually from a faraway land. Yehoshua bought their ruse, he bought into the trick, and as a result, signed a treaty with them, pledging not to attack them. On top of that, he comes to their aid over here against the kings of Yerushalayim, Hebron, Eglon, Lachish, and Yarmut, and led by some miraculous events, including some hail falling down on these 5 enemy kings, as well as Yehoshua performing a remarkable miracle, holding the sun in place on Friday afternoon so that the Jewish people would not have to fight on Shabbat. Yehoshua and the Jewish people are able to put down the threat against the Givonim and save them from the 5 kings, and as a result, they conquer the rest of the southern region, and that's something we discussed back in Perek Yud in the 10th chapter. At this point, Yehoshua, in the 11th and 12th chapters, turns his attention to the northern area of Eretz Yisrael, the northern kingdom. And here, the enemy nations that he confronts are led by a king by the name of Yavin from the nation of Chatzor. And Chatzor puts together a group of 3 other kingdoms, the kingdom of Madon, Shimron, and Achshaph, to join him in a battle against Yehoshua and the Jews to try to protect their kingdom. And this fight occurs in the center of that location near the waters of Merom. Merom is a very well-known city, especially around the time of Lag BaOmer, where some very significant events took place with Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Just by the way, if you look at the top of your screen over here, this is Har Harmon, and Har Harmon to this day is a very popular winter resort area in Israel. And yet it's still mentioned right here back in the times of the Nevi'im, showing you the connection between ancient Israel and modern Israel. It's a very important thing to be aware of. Anyways, there's this fight between Yehoshua and these 4 kings who form a coalition in the north. Yehoshua is successful in taking down all 4 of these kingdoms, and they are told to burn the city of Chatzor, which Yehoshua does. This is not the case with the city of Madon or Achshaph or Shimron, just the city of Chatzor, probably because the city of Chatzor, led by their king Yavin, were the ones who started this fight in the first place against Yehoshua. Turning his attention to the rest of the northern region, Yehoshua looks at a part of the north that is run by the Anakim. Anakim means giants, from the word anak. And indeed, there are giants that inhabited this land, and in the areas of Anav, Devir, and Hebron, Yehoshua has to fight some pretty stiff competition in the form of these giants. These giants, the Anakim, are mentioned in the Torah itself in the times of Moshe, but at this time, Yehoshua actually conquers them and wages battle against the giants in these cities of Anav, Devir, and Hebron. Of course, we know Hebron probably most of all of these cities because of Ma'arat Machpelah, which is located there. Yehoshua, even though he is successful in conquering these 3 cities, purposely leaves this area over here to the west, in the northwestern region, the cities of Aza and Gat and Ashdod. And this city of Gat, in particular, is important because we're going to come back and see that city in future stories in the Nevi'im, not so much in Sefer Yehoshua, but in Sefer Shmuel. We'll meet a man by the name of Goliath. You may remember him. He's the giant who fights David HaMelech, and this is the moment where David slays Goliath with only his slingshot and is elected to be the next king of Bnei Yisrael. So we'll come across that story at some point in our future studies of Nevi, but at this point, Yehoshua is successful in conquering the northern region, but leaves over 3 cities, including the city of Gat, at this time. And by the way, it's just important to know that even though eventually Yehoshua and the Jewish people will conquer all of Eretz Yisrael, in preparation for dividing the land and living in that land, they do leave certain enemy nations in the land undestroyed. And that's a question that we'll have to discuss in class, is why Yehoshua didn't kill all of the enemies in this region? Why does he leave the cities of Gaza and Ashdod and Gat in particular? What is it about these areas that Yehoshua felt was worthy of saving them? So when we come back to class, we've got some pretty important questions to discuss, including some text-based references that are a little bit strange. The first is that Yehoshua is praised for doing what Hashem tells him to do. We'll look at the source there. That's Pasuk Tetvav, verse 15. And it's strange because Yehoshua has been doing what Hashem has been asking him to do all this time. So why now is he praised for doing what he's been asked to do? Seems a little bit out of place. Speaking of out of place, in the context of conquering the northern region, Moshe's previous conquests are mentioned here. It seems a little bit out of place as well. After all, Moshe has been dead for some time now, nearly 7 years. And it seems a little bit strange to be mentioning conquests that took place so long ago, especially at a time when Yehoshua is waging a whole new set of conquests. Finally, we reached the end of the parak in Parak Yud Aleph, and Hashem tells Yehoshua that he's going to harden the hearts of the Jews in their battle against Yavin and Chatzor and these other kings in the north. And that phrase, to harden the hearts of the Jewish people, is a strange phrase. That's a phrase that most famously is used in Sefer Shemot to describe Paro, who hardens his heart to Moshe's request to let Bnei Yisrael leave Mitzrayim. And there it signals a kind of defiance, of not listening, of not obeying orders. Is that what's meant over here? If it means something differently, then what is that? Those are some of the questions we're going to discuss together in class. Looking forward to learning with you and continuing the conversations when we return.